the public interest is spiked, and then it fades, and then you repeat it. If you compress everything, the pattern is not gradual reveal of alien truth. The pattern is...
Yeah, it gets a little reboot, a little push along when we want another lot of money. Yeah, let's just release some more information, Mike, and get some more money in return.
There you go. I think there's a great opportunity for us to restate, because at one point we did, like, who do you trust in ufology, right? How do you know who to trust? And I kind of feel like that episode was a little bit, maybe it wasn't clear enough. For me, these are the things that the raised red flags will cause me to just completely dismiss someone for all of eternity.
The following program is presented for general information, education and entertainment purposes only and is not intended to be advice of any kind. The content, views, thoughts and opinions expressed in this program are those of the individuals involved. The use of information on this program is at the user's own discretion.
Reverend Stu, what's going on with you today?
Hey, Mike, how are you? Great to see you. I feel like disclosure is upon us. You've got officials in your country saying, making comments about what the visitors might be.
Yeah, we definitely do. Vice President of the United States of America, Mr. J.D. Vance, I think spoke out of turn and gave the world his opinion that he thinks that the aliens are demons. And I vehemently oppose that personal outlook that he has, and I don't think it's his place at all to mix his religion in with his politics or anything like that.
Wow, okay, kind of harsh judgment there, Mike. I don't mind hearing his opinion. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I'll tell you what I do like. This topic of ours right here is going very mainstream.
It certainly is. It certainly is. But that's the thing. When you get into all this, belief systems is what we've been talking about for almost 3 years now, exclusively, right? With various smart folks from around the world. But no, I do disagree with when someone of the vice president nature, like you talking to the microphone and the world listens, you got to be careful with what you're saying. And I don't think he has any right to really to say that, because like what information is he basing this off other than his religious beliefs? That's what I got from his comment.
Now, I feel like you're a bit upset on behalf of these aliens right now, Mike. Are you some sort of representative of theirs?
Well, if I were, Stuart, I wouldn't publicly admit it.
Okay.
But I got to say, man, I love our channel. I think we're the best UFO channel that is in existence.
Oh, wow. Now, look, I'm not being rude here, but Americans definitely talk themselves up. But and we're on the other side. Australians kind of talk themselves down because we've got this thing called the tall poppy syndrome, which means that if someone rises above others, they get cut off. So we're reluctant. Yeah, it's a different cultural thing, but it's still very nice to hear you say that. And just quietly, Mike, I agree with you.
Well, I hope so, man. I hope so. But yeah, so, I mean, first of all, welcome one and all, wherever and whenever you may be. This is Universal Disclosure Meeting the Moment. My name is Mike, an active UFO field investigator in Southern California with my friend and co-host,
Reverend Stu in Melbourne, Australia.
And we are, it is pretty cool, Stuart, that we've got, I'm going to call it our topic, is reaching the mainstream. And what I mean by our topic is the non-physical and spiritual side of the phenomenon, as it were. And, I've said it before, too, where I'm pretty damn convinced I've figured out a majority of this. And, non-physical is where it's mostly at. The thing that throws me for a loop, though, are the very rare cases of, the physical craft. And I do have to call into question, how physical are those craft?
I think I've brought this up on the show before, that my perspective is we are both spiritual and physical. So it makes sense that they would be too. So I'm actually comfortable with the duality of that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, just not to get too far into the weeds here, we are going to talk about today in our conversation between us the timeline of disclosure, the pattern of the timeline, and such. So we'll get into that real soon, rather. But here's what I want to put out to the world with the idea of the physical ships appearing on military radar. Okay, and I think I've asked this way back in our first episode with Kevin Day, which I'm sure, as I remember, he wasn't able to answer the question that I asked him because it was a very specific question. And that question was, what does the military radar pick up? What types of materials? And here's why I'm saying this and asking this. Our radars can pick up clouds and can pick up rain. Those are physical things, but yet, we can go through those. So they're not fully physical. Does that sort of make sense?
That is super interesting because I've heard plasma described as the fourth state of matter. And I hadn't even considered this, Mike, about what it's picking up. This is fascinating.
So I'm not saying that the craft aren't physical or people aren't, seeing what they're seeing, right? But my question is, how physical are the craft, right? Because, okay, we do now have better technologies than we did when all of this stuff started. And, that's the question that I'm honing in on personally, and I find very flippin' fascinating.
This is one of the things I love about our show, because while my head's out in the weeds somewhere on the esoteric thing, you're still grounded in this reality, and I love it. This is the perfect mix for this show.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to blame you, but I'm more out there now than when I started, for sure, in terms of the non-physicality stuff. But that's really the thing. With the experiencers and such, a lot of them say that it's real, but it's not physical, or it's not fully physical. And I don't want to get too far out. We could get off topic really quickly.
That's all right. Okay. All right. Well, what if you got to ground us back into this reality today? What are we going to talk about?
I was talking with a friend of mine. Let's call him B for anonymity, right? And he was just like, man, there seems to be a pattern to this, the UFO stuff. We'll go weeks with not a peep of anything, and then all of a sudden something comes out, and then that's all that you hear about for a couple of days, and then it's gone. And I was like, yes, man, there absolutely is a pattern to all of this. So we're going to be talking about the pattern. There's basically 7 different aspects. There's 2 chunks, and the first chunk has 7 different aspects. So what do I mean by that? I'm just going to outline it real quickly. The core timeline pattern is the first thing, followed by the timing pattern as number 2. Number 3 is the repeating release pattern of information. Number 4, the information pattern, what changes, what stays the same. 5, the structural patterns. And 6, the meta pattern. This is the big picture. And then 7, the simple model with some final insights. And that's all just the information coming out for UAP disclosure.
Okay, so there's a pattern there, and it doesn't necessarily mean that pattern is being established by the intelligence community or the visitors themselves. It could be either. It's just the fact that there's a pattern there.
Okay, well, all right, fair enough. Let's take it baby steps. There is a pattern there.
Please.
Yes. I'll hold my personal beliefs back right now, but you hit the nail on the head right with what you just said.
Wow.
But nonetheless, AI did help me with this, okay? Because after our conversations with AI, with the various folks that we've had them with, I'm opening up a little bit to it and understanding what it is and what it isn't and how to properly use it. So, it talks about the core timeline of, first there's the shock and a legitimacy reset moment. That's going back to 2017 with the New York Times article and the major media coverage of the Pentagon ATIP program, the release of the Navy videos via leaks. Okay. And stop me or throw out any questions if you want or whenever, because I'm just going to sort of go through this so people can understand what the pattern is. It's not obvious, but there is a pattern. So then number 2, the validation and controlled releases from 2019 to 2021. The Navy confirms the videos are real, and then the Pentagon releases footage, and then we have our first UAP report. So the pattern there is there's a leak. Then there's confirmation. Confirmation becomes formalization. And then let's make a report. Are you
All right,
following
I do
along
have
so
a question already. Now, you
Okay,
might
yeah.
remember this better than I do. When Snowden came out and Julian Assange, was there this pattern at that point where it would be confirmed sometime after or not?
I don't know the answer to that one, man. That was so long ago
Yeah.
and different topic. Um,
Ah,
but
okay, okay.
you know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
so this is specific to the UAP disclosure of information, if you will.
Okay.
It doesn't. I mean, it might fit other things, but like that's all that I'm sort of focused on with that.
Yes, sure. So
Um,
far you're talking about the Ralph Blumenthal article and the Kevin Day video of the from the Nimitz.
exactly. Yes. So that's really where it all began for this particular segment. But of course, it goes back, as everybody knows, till the 40s and even before that. And the first crash was like in the 1898, or so like this goes back a hell of a long time. So for those people who might think this is all new, it's been going on since the beginning of time. It's definitely not new. So phase 3 is the institutionalization. So you got the creation of the UAP task force, and later replaced by ARROW, the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. And could we be any more ambiguous with that title, right? But the intelligence community loves their acronyms, I believe they're called, right? Anyway.
So does the whole corporate world.
Well, very true, very true. May 2022, there's the first congressional hearing in over 50 years. September 2023, NASA independently decides to say we're going to study UAPs. I'm not sure how independent that was, by the way, but nonetheless,
Yes.
NASA wants a little moment there as well. So we're moving from mystery to a bureaucratic process and a normalization.
Interesting. Okay. I could, that might be a limited hangout. Have you heard that term? You probably have before. We kind of
I've definitely heard that.
partially admit something's real, but not fully. So you can steer and control the narrative. I'm wondering.
Okay. Oh man, this is good stuff, and yes, you're right on. You've got it, and that's why I want to put this out there so other people can understand sort of how this is going on and why. Phase 4, the annualized reporting cycle from 2023 to the present. There's historical review and an annual report. In the 2024 report included 757 new cases. And what we're getting is regular cadence of annual reports, incremental data releases with quote unquote no extraterrestrial intelligence conclusions. And I do believe I know I've said in at least one, if not multiple episodes in the past, I agree with that statement, no extraterrestrial evidence. And what we just talked about with the radar, picking up stuff that's not fully physical. So there you go. The pattern here is a predictable yearly disclosure with an increase in quantity and a decrease in sensationalism.
Ah, I get it. I hear what you're saying here. I mentioned on an earlier show that AI might start releasing classified information. And I didn't mean that AI holds a clearance, Mike. I just meant that it's going to make patterns and notice patterns that you're bringing to our attention right now that we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, and I'm not special, but like who else is thinking about it in this way, right? You have to zoom out and have a wide angle global lens at this topic. It's not just one tiny little thing, okay? If you're only interested in physical spaceships, you're spinning in circles and you're going to waste the rest of your life spinning in circles. You have to look at everything, as a whole. But nonetheless, continuing onwards, where we are right now, potentially phase 5, the political retrigger in 2026. With the new directive to release the UAP UFO files, which, by the way, I'm yet to hear a deadline about that. But nonetheless, disclosure spikes during political cycles and executive orders. With the idea of sensationalism, though, you've got, let's call them the alphabet agencies working behind the scenes because they're. If there is an enemy in this war of UAP, they're the ones. But
oh, Mike, be careful there.
I know, right? But hey, y'all want the truth. You're getting the truth.
Okay.
Right. It's coming out. So, with they're trying to decrease the sensationalism, and I do applaud that. Okay, I truly do. But at the same time, like I've said before too, there's 95% of ufologists are just bullshit. Okay, they're charlatans, and they're out to either make dollars or just have their names known, or both. So it's so much. I don't know. There's so much to really talk about with this topic.
I think I understand. I want to clarify something there. Do you mean people that aren't necessarily connected to any kind of intelligence agency, just opportunistic people wanting to sell books? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Now, I don't mean anyone with a book is bullshit, okay? But I do mean there is plenty
Yes.
of opportunistic people out there who do write
Yep.
books. And then they have these stories that, especially, a lot of the times, you cannot prove any of this stuff, okay? Let's take an example of, like, the hollow moon theory. Okay, whatever. I'm not sure. If the moon were to not be fully solid, like, okay, that doesn't mean there's freaking aliens inside the moon. And I don't
Right.
believe that there's anything at all on the dark side of the moon. But you can't, well, we're going to be able to prove it very soon, actually. But right now, up until this moment, you can't prove it. So there's people out there spewing nonsense about that kind of, that's an example. And then there's other, investigative journalists who've been at it for decades who don't actually investigate anything, and they just repeat what people say. So, I mean, those are the types of things I'm talking about, opportunistic people. But
I get it.
This isn't supposed to be a rant, man. This is supposed to be...
I like it, though.
Talking
Yeah.
about the timing of everything. And the timing pattern is what we're talking about now. Across all phases, releases cluster around the mid-year deadlines, May through June. You got a 2021 report, 2020 report in June, and a 2022 hearing in May. And why? Congressional mandate deadlines, budget and intelligence reporting cycles. So
Wow.
then you have late year drops, November and December, because of the annual reports. Why? End of cycle reporting, lower media scrutiny windows over like the holiday time.
Aha.
And then finally, in that subset, politically triggered bursts. There's a media investigation, then there's a mandated report, then there's an executive order, and these aren't actually periodic; they're reactive. So far, I don't know if this is this making sense to you? Because it's making a lot of sense to me.
I have seen those patterns that this AI is identifying now, exactly. And I think, if I understand correctly, on a political level, they try and pass through certain bills at times during public holidays when less people are paying attention and noticing what's happening. So I've seen that before too. This fits in with what I'm already aware of.
Okay, great. And I've noticed that too. There's like more often than not when the flavor of the month bombshell comes out by whoever, whether it's someone from the formerly of the intelligence community who probably isn't formally anything, right? They're still once in, never out. But and don't get me wrong, like I respect what they do, but I also am going to call out they're professional liars, and you can't trust pretty much anything that they say. But the point of all this is, this stuff comes out like around like Easter time, Thanksgiving, Christmas, like, when people are on holiday, like just what it just said, like it's a slower time. Let's just toss that out there and see how it goes. So next up, we got the repeating release pattern. So again, there's a leak or an insider push. Then you got the journalists, the whistleblowers, and the unofficial releases, followed by media amplification, and then official acknowledgement, Pentagon videos are real, and then institutional response, task forces, offices, studies. I mean, we're starting, and I mean, not to be repetitive, we are borderline getting repetitive on that one. But there's a report with limited conclusions. It's unidentified, but no extraterrestrial evidence. The public interest is spiked, and then it fades, and then you repeat it.
I'm just realizing as you're saying this, Mike, there were spikes during times like the 40s, where we're hearing all kinds of things about craft. That all died down for ages, for decades, didn't it, in the mainstream?
It absolutely did. And let's do a little sidebar here. We're about like halfway through the first section. Yeah, you're right to say it died down. Now, I'm speaking from a lens of research now because I wasn't alive in the 40s, right? But neither were you. But
Yeah.
that's when the ridicule instantly came out in the threats. And that's
Right.
how, what people need to realize the seriousness of this topic was because people were threatened and ridiculed, and that's why it went away for decades. And also, it was easier to control information when the internet didn't exist. You had print media. You had 3 main news outlets that were broadcasting wirelessly. Like, you could easily tell the reporter, you're not going to say that, or else. And they would listen.
That's hitting me pretty hard, Mike. I can understand you could actually control the narrative then, because I'm so used to this internet time now where you can't. This is fascinating.
Okay, well, all right, I'm glad you said that. Because I think that you still can. And the internet is being used to do exactly that. I believe that there's a lot of podcasters in the UFO space specifically, but also other spaces too, of various topics, who do in fact work for dun dun dun.
Yes.
Yeah, the alphabet agencies, and it's brilliant because they fit in. They look like every average Joe or Jane, but they're not.
I know they look like regular people. Yeah, very hard to pick, especially if they're good ones.
Yeah,
I'm going to
right.
mention someone here, Mike, and you might want to edit this out, but I'll mention it too. There's a CIA whistleblower named John Kiriakou, and I'm absolutely fascinated by what he's got to reveal. I'm really enjoying his information. It's really expanding my awareness on a lot of these topics.
Okay, I've never heard of that name before, so I'm going to have to look him up, and I'm not going to edit that out. So I'm not sure. What, just briefly, like, what does he talk about?
Okay, briefly, they put him in jail for blowing the whistle on the torture program in the CIA, and now he's everywhere talking about all kinds of activities that the CIA get up to, and it's really been expanding my awareness.
Okay, interesting. I'll check it out perhaps, but I'll just toss out there as a caution, like if he, the whistleblower thing, it's a very delicate term, and there's a whole nother, we're going to talk about the whistleblowers in a second too, with their pattern. But I mean, I'm 50-50 on that, right on the tightrope with it, because on one hand, my hat's off to the whistleblowers for, the courage it takes to do that. I respect you, I do. But please understand, I don't necessarily believe you 100% because you got authorization to say what you are saying from the Department of War.
Yeah,
You see that?
I
You see
get
that,
it.
Stuart? Like, yes, they're heroes and they've got balls of steel, but yet they have permission to speak. So, I don't know. And,
It definitely muddies the water and complicates the
Right?
whole issue.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What have you got next on
So
that
anywho,
list? What did
I'm
AI
sorry,
tell
let's
us next? No, that's
reel,
okay.
Reel us back in. The information pattern, what changes versus what doesn't? This is number 4 of 7. What increases over time? The number of reported incidents, the sensor data and the quality thereof, and the bureaucratic transparency slightly. So as an example, 143 cases in 2021, 400 cases in 2022, 757 cases in 2024. Okay, I'm going to predict approximately 1,523 cases in 2026. I pulled that number out of my ass, but based on this pattern, maybe it's going to be somewhere around there. So timestamp this, folks, and let's see how accurate I am. Statistics, right? So what does it say? Or what stays consistent, rather? No confirmation of extraterrestrial origin. Most cases attributed to balloons, drones, sensor artifacts, yada, yada, boring. Who cares? Everybody knows that, right? What gradually shifts? The language. Well, UFO to UAP, anomalous phenomenon. I'm not going to give my opinion on that. I've already done that. Framing, from aliens to airspace security risk. Okay, that's a valid one. Airspace security risk, very valid. I fly on sort of regular basis, right? And there's people who fly a lot more than me. However, show me one case where a UFO/UAP, unidentified object of any kind, crashes into an airplane when the airplane didn't provoke it or shoot a missile at it or chase it. It doesn't happen.
Very interesting. And if it did, it might not be revealed. Now, I want to mention something else here briefly, Mike.
What do you mean if it did, it might not be revealed? Hold on. You can't just toss that out.
Oh, sorry. If there's an investigation and the result is, well, there's another commercial plane gone down because it impacted with the UFO, that's going to be classified. They're not going to say, sorry, there's been another one. We better do something about this.
Okay, fair enough. Thankfully, knock on anything, right? Not a lot of crashes overall because we do have a great, safety and security protocol. Now, again, I don't want to take away from it. In a way, it's just like, how can we, in their minds, right, in they being the intelligence community, how can we bring this out in a way that, people can accept? Well, forget about the aliens. Let's just talk about the security. It's a real thing, but it's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really. Anyway, I cut you off. You were saying something.
Oh, I didn't mean to go on a tangent exactly, but it's the 60th anniversary of the Westall incident. We interviewed Tanya Vassi about that. It's all over the news again. I mentioned on another podcast that it comes up periodically here in Australia. Mm-hmm. So the children, who are now adults, came together at the spot that it occurred to talk about it. There was media involvement. Ross Coulthart was there even. It's back on the radar. So in terms of the increase in sightings and interest, it's hitting a peak here again. And that video is really trending of ours again. So I'm very pleased to hear that.
Oh, nice. Very awesome.
Now, there's this other layer too, Mike, where when people get older, they think, this is still a real thing and I'm ready to talk about it now because I'm not holding some corporate position. And I'm surprised by how many people from 60 years ago are still saying we want answers and something definitely happened.
Without question. I mean, when we talk to Tanya at length, my spidey senses, she's legit. Like, I've got nothing bad to say about that. Like, absolutely. But that's one of the things that's, like I said, throws me, right? Like, there was something there. Oh, was it fully physical? It looked physical, and I'm sure that it was physical without question, but how physical was it? In terms of a three-dimensional reality. That's kind of like maybe a
I see. Well, the reason I'm bringing this up now is because you did a bit of a forecast about how many sightings might be reported. I think more people may come forward because they're getting encouraged by the fact that it's all over the place. I think I'll talk about my encounter. And, that even happened to me, Mike. I've spoken about my sighting, or one of them, on this show. And I only got to that point to feel bold enough to do that because of the climate of this kind of discussion.
Okay, yeah, totally appreciate that, and myself as well with one of the things that I had to share, and okay, so with that idea, what the numbers that I just talked about were specifically military sightings reported within the military confines, okay? And that's an important distinction to make because MUFON, that I am a part of, although this is independent podcast completely, I'm not speaking on behalf of them, but I can tell you as a fact, they get tens of thousands of reports every year from civilians. However, some of those they're not all civilian. We do also get military people reporting as well. But the point is, the numbers that I just cited were specifically reports in those years, within the military circle. So there's a little bit of a difference per se. Not really, but...
Oh, no, I understood that. I just mean, like, if I'm a military person sitting at home and I'm seeing it constantly on the TV, it might be a tipping point for me. I think, you know what? I actually do feel confident to speak up about this now.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. So I don't know how much this... we keep going off on these tangents, which I'm cool with.
Sorry, but,
Mike. That's because I got some notes here. I don't know. Hopefully we're not losing folks out there. Number 5 is the structural patterns, which is deeper than timing. And these are the most important insights, okay? Pattern 1 is bureaucratic absorption. UFOs get absorbed into normal government structure. There's a program that creates a task force that now has a permanent office. And this reduces the stigma, and it also reduces shock. So it's like the world is being conditioned to get that's why we're meeting the moment, folks. Okay, now it's all coming to light 3 freaking years later.
Yes.
Method to the madness, right? Pattern number 2, data, and I don't mean. I didn't know any of this prior. Okay, it's not like I've got the script and I'm just waiting for it to unfold. Although sometimes I do think that. But
right.
But I am not now, nor have ever been employed by the government or any contractors thereof. Pattern number 2, data normalization strategy. A governmental approach is the releasing of more data, but make conclusions less extraordinary. And the result is transparency increases, mystery decreases publicly. I want to read that part again. Transparency increases, mystery decreases publicly.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. Transparency increasing equals good thing. Mystery decreasing equals good thing. However, I'll just let it be. I'll just let it be where it is. Pattern number 3, national security framing shifts from what are these to are these foreign tech threats? Okay. I'm sorry, but that's a little bit passé by now. Like, are they foreign tech threats? Like, come on, man.
No, I'm comfortable with that. I'll tell you why I'm comfortable with that. Because if there's been some back engineering, if that's such a thing, then that might be the case. I'm still open to that.
Well, I don't discount the possibility of back engineering. Again, now that we will then assume that they're fully physical, okay? And I'm open to that, right? The craft. But if any government or country were to successfully back engineer something that is allegedly that technologically advanced, that would be the currency of the world. The language they speak would be the language of the world. Like, that's how humans are. Humans can't help but like destroy each other and try to control the whole damn world. So I'm not convinced in any way that anyone anywhere has reverse engineered anything, because humans can't keep it a secret. That's just the way it is.
I think they can. And we can be actually, yeah, I do. And because things are classified. And also we can be reserved about what military armaments we use. So I'm sorry to bring this up at the moment, but countries will hold off using nuclear weapons even though they have them. So there could be back engineered equipment that they are holding off using too.
Okay, well, that's a fair statement, but I don't know, like, let me ponder that one. Yeah, that's a good statement, actually. That's a good statement. But I mean, I don't know. I'm show it to me, right? Show me.
They'll keep it as their trump card. Excuse me for using that phrase. Yes.
Oh man. So I was going to say something and you totally threw me off track.
Sorry, Mike.
But in any event, pattern number 4 is the controlled disclosure. The release tends to confirm authenticity of the phenomenon and to avoid definitive interpretations. Okay. This keeps public interest alive. That's really important for the business of UFOs, is keeping public interest alive. Hey, I'll just call it what it is. It's a business.
Now, aren't we doing that, Mike? We're not being particularly conclusive. Are we trying to keep our show going? Devil's advocate right there?
No. So let's see. I'm calling attention to the fact that there's a lot of charlatans in the UFO world, and it is a business for a lot of people. But it keeps the public interest alive. Who feels like the public interest needs to be kept alive? Like, the idea here is there are intelligent biological beings that are not human. Who cares where they're from? Is that not enough to keep the interest alive? You have to keep the interest alive. You know what I mean? You only have to keep the interest alive when you're throwing out bullshit everywhere. That's the thing. When you're trying to, okay?
Yeah.
And then also, we keep diverting here, without confirming extreme conclusions, because God forbid anyone have an opinion, right? Opinions
What, you
are
mean
like
like-
assholes. Well, you know what? Sorry. No, we're not going to be, sheep here and opinionless people. Sorry.
Well, you mean like aliens might be demons, Mike?
Okay,
Like an
yeah.
opinion like that?
Yeah, like an opinion like that. Bring it on, Mr.
Yes.
Vance. Come on and talk to us. We would welcome that.
That'd be awesome.
That won't happen though. We're too free. They would never allow that because he doesn't make the decisions himself. Pattern number 5: expectation management. Recent messaging explicitly downplays surprises. Officials repeatedly signal, "Don't expect big revelations."
Yeah, I kept hearing that.
Yeah, as we have said, and I'm on board with that because I don't see any big revelations happening, except for when Senator Burchett wants to just go on a podcast and toss out there that allegedly he was told in a skiff about an alien hybrid program and make some statements and such. I mean, I don't know what the motivation is on that one, but I guess time will tell.
Yeah, that made some waves. I saw that down here in Australia. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty wild time, man. It's a pretty wild time. Number 6: meta pattern, the big picture. And if you compress everything, the pattern is not gradual reveal of alien truth. The pattern is transition from secrecy to managed transparency to normalized ambiguity.
What a great phrase. Normalized ambiguity. Perfect.
That's the robot, man. I'm reading that one, so I'm not going to take credit for that one. But then number 7 is the simple model. You can think of it as 2017 shock, 2020 validation, 2021 and 22 legislation. I'm sorry, legitimate. This is a tough word to pronounce. Legitimization. 2023 and 2024 bureaucratization.
Wow.
Big words. I know I'm not that smart. And 2025
Yes,
and
you are.
beyond. 2025 and beyond. Routine reporting with political spikes. So the final insight on this particular section is the most consistent pattern isn't what's revealed, it's how it's revealed. Timed with institutional deadlines, triggered by external pressures, media and politics, and delivered in control, ambiguity-preserving increments.
I love that phrase.
And that's the end of this first section. So that was a lot, and we did a lot of tangents. But what do you got to say about all that in general?
I'm really glad you did that. So someone mentioned that they'd noticed a pattern. Then you've gone to AI. Then it's revealed some new information to us. And it's something I hadn't even considered, Mike. It wasn't even on my radar. So I'm really going to ponder this for a few days now.
Excellent. That's the idea, man. That's the idea. And that's why I love this channel too. I mean, I'm a different person from when I started this for sure. Are you a different person? Or are you saying like...
Yeah, I reckon I am, because I've gotten a little more courageous about talking openly. So in one of the first shows, I was basically saying that these conversations are private between me and congregation members or whoever comes to me. I'm not going to disclose this or that. And I don't about people who've spoken to me, but I've gotten up the courage to speak about myself. And it's been helping me to understand and help hopefully guide and assist other people who come to me about this topic. And the privilege, Mike, I've mentioned this before, of doing this with you and speaking directly to people who I always wanted to speak to. So it has changed me for the better.
Okay, cool. I mean, when you first said that, honestly, I felt like you weren't, like, you're like, yeah, it changed me. Like, I didn't I didn't get like a positive vibe out of that, man. Like,
Interesting observation.
Did I misinterpret or...
No, I had to think about it for a minute, if it has positively or negatively. So there can be what might be considered a negative side where you get a bit frustrated with the topic. Like, do we actually know anything more? and because you mentioned also about 95% you think of the people are full of, what on the topic. So that can be a bit frustrating too. So for a second I was thinking, yeah, it's changed me. There are positives and negatives. I just needed a second to contemplate that.
Okay. All right. That's a fair and honest answer. I like it. So next up, the whistleblower pattern. So there's a whistleblower pattern, and then there's defense funding cycle pattern, followed by, and this is just an outline. We'll deep dive into all of this in a moment. Followed by a media spike pattern, and then the combined system, all three together. And then we'll look at the UAP Disclosure Engine. Right?
Okay.
So the whistleblower pattern, pressure waves. The most important figure in the recent cycle is David Grush. I don't think there's any question about that. The key moments, June 2023. Public claims about hidden UAP programs. And then July 2023, testifies before Congress. The recurring whistleblower cycle. Step 1, insider escalation. Individuals raise concerns internally, often blocked. Step 2, legal whistleblower pathway. Protected disclosures to Inspector General / Congress. Step 3, public reveal, the media interview. Carefully timed, usually with legal backing. Step 4, congressional amplification, hearings, public statements. Step 5, institutional response, reports, denials, or partial confirmations. So the timing pattern, whistleblower tends to appear right before or during congressional action, not randomly. An example, Grush just before the major 2023 hearings, plus the NDAA discussions. We'll pause there before we go to number 2, defense funding cycle.
It's almost like the way a lawyer would bring some out-of-the-box witness, just as the court case is happening, It does sound like it's been organized.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like what I said earlier, the whistleblowers, again, who I do respect, but they have permission to say what they are saying. So in my humble opinion, in my own words, they're reading the script in a way. However, it's an important script to be read. Much like, I'm sort of loosely reading the script here that to go along with the outline. So, don't take that the wrong way. Just be aware that that's what's happening, okay? That's all that this is about.
Yeah.
So, number 2, defense funding cycle pattern. The key entity is the National Defense Authorization Act and the annual rhythm, Q2, Q3, May and July. Drafting, and then the debate phase, and then the hearings occur cycle. Q4, November, December. The final bill is passed, and the reporting requirements are mandated. So how UAP fits into this. UAP developments consistently align with NDAA phases. Examples are 2021 report mandated by a prior NDAA. 2022 to 2024, AARO, the funding and authority expanded via the NDAA. So the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office funding and their authority was expanded by the National Defense Authorization Act. 2023, the whistleblower protections added to the NDAA. Pattern insight. UFO disclosure is often a byproduct of budget justifications and oversight requirements, not purely curiosity-driven.
Yeah, that makes sense. In fact, I was going to ask you, are these congressional hearings because the politicians are interested? Is it from their interest or a need to reveal the information to ask for higher budgets? Okay, politicians, now you're aware of the threat. Now please approve our budgetary requests.
Okay, Stuart, you get a gold star because you are right on it, man. You're right on it. Because that's my personal, I'll say, fear publicly, right? Is that the politicians who are revealing stuff. Let's face it. When you're a politician, you're usually not people don't seek you out. Like, you're not like, how do I say this nicely, right? It's not like being a TV personality. Like, you don't walk down the street and people are like, oh, could I get your autograph? Can I take a selfie with you? People usually
Right.
don't like the politician, right? So with the UFO, the UAP, the politicians have realized, oh, wow, I can feel good about this. People will like me because of this. So,
Wow.
enter in the military industrial complex. Sorry to use the passe phrase about there, but also the intelligence community playing these little games, feed the monkey, if you will. No offense to anybody, but that, we're just being blunt here.
Yes.
And, this is what happens. So that's why I'm cautious about even stuff that's revealed in a skiff that isn't directly stated to the public, but it's alluded to. It's like, what's the motivation there? Does somebody want money?
Who benefits? The question, who benefits, needs to be asked.
Discernment. You have to be discerning everything. Getting back on track. Number 3, the media spike pattern. And again, we're still talking about whistleblowers. Media spike pattern. Major outlets act as timing catalysts, especially the New York Times and News Nation. So apparently those are the two that the robot has given as authority. Now, hey, I respect the New York Times. They've been around a hell of a lot longer than I have, so great. And News Nation, I saw a long time ago, they're sort of like an up and coming, like they're trying to put their foot in the door for this field, and they were doing good. Although if you're listening, News Nation, be careful, because you are starting to get cringe on UFO topics. So reel it back in a little bit, folks.
Right.
But no, I'm serious. Like, it's the same thing. Like when someone's pressured to put out something on a regular basis, they have to have content. You can potentially be pressured to talk to somebody who isn't worth listening to, quite frankly, just to put them out on a schedule. Anyways, we can go do a whole rabbit hole about that with the algorithms and how the algorithm actually sort of directs a lot of people how to make content, when to make content, and what to make content about, which goes back to the statement we talked about in the beginning part of this conversation of controlling the narrative through social media, through a freaking robot. Genius. I don't want to bleep myself out, but I think you got what I was trying to say there.
I did.
And not genius in a good way, right? It's like Dr. Evil type of genius. But continuing on with the media cycle, phase 1 is an investigative drop. I don't know why I said it in investigative. I don't know why I said it that way. Investigative. Why did I say it that way?
That's good.
I guess, yeah. In 2017, New York Times article. Okay, great. In 2023, the Grush interview with News Nation. Phase B. Plan B. Phase B.
Yes.
Viral amplification. Social media, podcasts, YouTube. Phase C. Mainstream saturation. CNN, BBC, etc. The legacy heavy hitters. And then phase D, the government response, statements, hearings, reports. Remember, the government isn't leading anything. They're taking up the caboose, and that's what they always do. And that's, kind of their job. Timing pattern. Media drops often occur just before policy windows open or when insiders are legally protected to speak, which probably has a lot to do with the first thing.
That makes sense. I've noticed that pattern myself.
I mean, this is fascinating. So, to me anyway, it's fascinating. Because again, you got to zoom out and look at everything. And it's so easy to get caught up in the hype, in the flavor of the month or whatever. And then the clicky baity nonsense. But there's it's such a fascinating topic. It's unreal. Okay, moving onward. Number 4, the combined system, all three together. Now here's the big dum 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 dum. Let's put it all together. And
what is it?
The UAP Disclosure Engine. Okay. Internal pressure builds, classified programs, sightings, and internal conflict leads to whistleblower emerges. Example, David Grush. then leads to the media release, strategic publication and interview, which leads to number 4, public and political pressure, the viral attention, and then the lawmakers respond, leading to number 5, congressional action, such as hearings and the NDAA provisions, leads to number 6, funding and office expansion, AARO budget mandates. Let's restate number 6, funding and office expansion, okay, leads to number 7, official report, new data, limited conclusions, and finally, number 8, interest fades until the next trigger. Boom.
I see.
And we're not done yet, but there you go. Money is at the base of all this. You see?
Yeah, it gets a little reboot, a little push along when we want another lot of money. Yeah, let's just release some more information, Mike, and get some more money in return.
There you go. And
that'll be a
wow,
soundbite.
Stuart.
What I just said, there'll be a soundbite.
Oh my God. That's really something to consider, folks. Various people need funds, and various people are defense agencies and things like that. So, let's talk about aliens so we can get a couple $1 billion. Anyways, continuing on here, number 5, the real example, 2023 cycle. Let's map it out. June 2023 Grush interview, July 2023 congressional hearing, late 2023 NDAA includes UAP provisions, 2024 Arrow report expansion, perfect alignment across all 3 systems.
Wow.
Once again, perfect alignment across all 3 systems. I mean, Stuart, we've already had our brushes with censorship, and I'm not joking. If this conversation doesn't get us like completely blacklisted for the, I don't know what else will. But I mean, you all want the truth, right? You got to look at it from a distance. Number 6, the deeper pattern, why it looks slow. This process creates an illusion of gradual revelation, but it's actually constrained by the bureaucratic rules. Classified info can't be dumped suddenly. Legal frameworks, whistleblower protections dictate the timing. And budget cycles. Programs must justify existence annually. Programs must justify the existence annually. Again, what would you say you do here, right?
I don't know, but I hadn't even thought about this. So I've heard no one else talk about this, Mike. And I've been following this for a long time.
Well, I mean, with all due respect, everyone is so distracted. They're in it. You don't realize this is happening because you're all in it. Everyone listening, you're in it. Yeah. I just removed myself from it and looking at it from a distance. That's the only difference. And that's all. So we're almost done here. Number 7 and number 8. Number 7 is the predictive pattern. What happens next? So based on the cycle, you can reasonably expect every year a new UAP report late in the year with incremental increase in case numbers, as we've sort of already talked about. And then every 2 to 3 years. Okay, what's so funny?
It sounded like I should mark these on my calendar along with Easter and Christmas.
Well, you may as well.
Yes.
Every 2 to 3 years, major whistleblower or inside story. And then during political shifts, sudden disclosure pushes or document releases. So the number 8 final sort of insight is an important reality check. This pattern strongly suggests, and again, this is from the robot, the system is optimized for controlled transparency, not for sudden paradigm-shifting disclosure. Even when insiders make big claims, the output becomes structured, diluted, and bureaucratically processed. So when you combine all 3 layers, the UAP disclosure behaves less like a secret being revealed and more like regulated information ecosystem. And it moves at the speed of law, funding, and institutional risk tolerance.
That makes complete sense.
Wow.
Because these are skills that people have already in government, in the corporate world, in NGOs. So it's a well-worn path, and it makes sense it would be applied to this topic, Mike.
So, I mean, there it is.
Yeah.
I mean, there is what, right? There's the pattern. There's a method to the madness. And with all of that, what does that mean? What does it mean for us, Stuart?
I'm glad you looked at the macro pattern. It's like plotting out a TV show. So we don't want to reveal the killer or the mystery too soon. Let's spread it over 8 or 9 seasons, Mike, and really get some money and some viewership. That's how it feels to me of what's happening here. And it's entirely logical to me. I'm not saying I'm an advocate for that or I approve of it, but just identifying the pattern's been fantastic. So thanks for bringing this to our attention.
Yeah. And all along the way, there's going to be people who come out of nowhere with fantastic stories, with, stuff to sell. So I think there's a great opportunity for us to restate, because at one point we did, like, who do you trust in ufology, right? How do you know who to trust? And I kind of feel like that episode was a little bit, maybe it wasn't clear enough. For me, these are the things that the raised red flags will cause me to just completely dismiss someone for all of eternity. Is it fear-based? If it's fear-based, it's bullshit. Is it ego-based? Me, only listen to me. I know everything. Bullshit, right? If they're comparing themselves to, like, Jesus or a Buddha or whatever, also,
Right.
a red flag. And most important of all, is it empowering or disempowering? Okay? Whatever the phenomenon is, it's not a disempowering thing. So anyone who presents it as such, I don't listen to.
That was amazing. I could use that same template for spiritual leaders or, deities or whatever. That was really insightful, Mike.
Stuart, you're going to give me a big head. Like, I don't know. Thank you.
It was true.
Thank you. I just came up with it off the top of my head, but but you made it sound like it was such a big, profound thing, and it was just a thought. So I don't know. Like,
It is. I'll tell you what my thought process was while you were talking. I was thinking about different people in the disclosure movement. They were falling off as you bring up each point until almost no one was left. And then I had to move to religious figures, and there were very few of them left. But I thought that's fantastic way to filter out the BS.
Yeah. How do you hear the music through all the noise, right? Ooh, that's a good one too. I think that's all I've got to say. I mean, not to say we've said this a couple times. We're not saying we're done, but we're done with this particular episode.
Yes, it was good though. Really, I'm sorry I interrupted so many times, but I found it very interesting and just needed a bit of clarity and trying to make connections as always. So you've made an important one for me now. Now, I don't want to get a bad attitude about any of this, Mike, or get frustrated. And sometimes when I first learn something like this, I think, why are we wasting our time here? But then I kind of recalibrate after a few days. I'm like, okay, we're just getting a bit of clarity here, separating the truth from the falsehood. So I'll settle into this issue. That's why I was serious before when I said I'll mull over this for a couple of days now. So thank you.
Awesome. And I don't mind you interrupting at all. It was great because, like, we're having a conversation. It's not about any one of us talking at the people of Earth, right? Like so many other podcasts seem to do. We're having a conversation, and I think a lot of the stuff that we say, people are thinking. And I cannot tell you how many times I've heard in my own investigative journey when I'm talking to individual people that they wish they could talk to their friends about this topic, but they can't. And there's nowhere. So there's definitely a need for a community of sorts to bounce stuff off of each other on an individual level. But that's why I wanted to say this too, like without naming names, use that as a litmus test of who should you even bother to listen to.
Thank you. All right. I'd love to see those points written down. I'm going to listen to this later and write them down myself. Fantastic work. Yeah, thank you, Mike. I've got a lot to absorb there and some great information, some wonderful insights from you. I'm not trying to give you a big head. You're just doing really well.
Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And if anybody else out there agrees, please put in the comments. And if you disagree, put those in the comments too. All right, Stuart, take us out.
Well, I want to thank you, Mike, and our audience as always, and send you much love and blessings this time and all times. You take care out there.